Hello, welcome to 30-Minute Mindfulness. Today I thought we would talk about stopping the ruminating thought, kind of continuing on from what we talked about yesterday with dealing with the unknown. Ruminating thoughts can they happen when we're in that unknown space. They really flourish. They really go crazy on us. So our thoughts are so powerful. They really create our reality. It's easy to feel like our thoughts are totally true, but they're really not. They're not. They're just thoughts. And when we realize that we don't have to buy into our thoughts, we gain a tremendous amount of power to change our lives. When we understand that we can change our thoughts, we can redirect them, we open the door to a way more wholehearted way of living. We envelop more peace and we invite more well-being. So thoughts are just our story. They're stories we tell ourselves. They're not truth with a capital T. They're what we see to be true. Every piece of information that we take in, we filter through our lenses and our biases. And that isn't a bad thing. It's just important to realize that appraisal that we have isn't always accurate. Our thoughts aren't always true. When we have ruminating thoughts, we can be addicted to fear, anxiety, anger, or whatever emotion arises as we spin that spool of thought in our mind. And we can get addicted to firing those neurological chemicals in our brain. And that aroused state becomes our default setting, if you will. So it feels uncomfortable to chill out or relax if anxiety and fear is our default setting, our natural state. I often hear, I can't meditate, I have too many thoughts, there's too much going on, I just can't relax, I can't sit still. Well, we crave opportunities to experience the emotions that we're addicted to, or in other words, the emotions that we're used to feeling. So if we're used to feeling fear or anxiety, when we sit down to meditate, our minds will crave fear and anxiety, and it becomes really difficult to sit still. Fear and anxiety are the chemicals in a person's brain. When our brain is the brain that's firing with fear and anxiety most of the time, we create this homeostasis, this familiar and predictable expected state, and that includes that fear and anxiety feeling. So we can replace fear and anxiety with anger or any other emotion. It's just whatever our default setting is, whatever revs us, whatever we're used to feeling or sensing, that's where our homeostasis is most at ease or most comfortable. It doesn't mean we're at ease, because if our homeostasis is requiring fear and anxiety, we're going to be in an aroused state, but our aroused state is going to be our 0 point or our normal state for us. Ruminating thoughts are kind of like mental hiccups. It's just our brain stuck on repeat. So the more we think about something, the bigger it gets. When our thoughts are ruminating about fear or what if this, what if that, what if the worst thing ever, we create bigger anxiety and more fear, more of what we don't want. So when we're conscious of our thoughts, we give ourselves the space to question them. We don't just take them at face value. We don't just say, yes, this is it, this is true. We realize our thoughts are just thoughts, and they're not facts. We're able to challenge the message they bring. Is this true? Is this 100% true? Does this serve me? Is this thought in line with with the best version of who I am? Are my thoughts in line with creating that best version of who I am? Are these thoughts limiting me in any way? Am I perpetuating emotions that don't serve my well-being with these thoughts? Those questions are really powerful when we can sit in just a quiet moment and ask ourselves, like take an honest inventory of what's going on. We can really gain insight about what's happening kind of under the radar or in that unconscious sense. When we change our thoughts, we change our lives. So the first step in stopping those ruminating thoughts is to have awareness of them. to see what's happening, to see what's going on in that news ticker bar of our mind. When we see them for what they are, we can question and consider, is this what I want to believe? Is this choice? Is this the choice I want to envelop for right now? Does this serve me? These thoughts are not who you are. They're not who you become. They're just thoughts. They're not true with a capital T. So our thoughts are not just what is. If we say, oh my gosh, my thoughts are just the way that I am, it just is, that's like a passive resignation. That's choosing by not choosing to see another possibility. So mindfulness and self-awareness are tools that help us see through those lenses. They help us see to deeper possibilities, to a greater understanding. And it's uncomfortable to change these thinking patterns. Absolutely. But at some point that discomfort will subside and that new normal will be more ease and well-being. And I say it all the time, and Joe Dispenza is the one who I'm quoting. But the hardest thing we'll do today is think different than we did yesterday. So it's just, mental health is 1,000 good decisions a day. It's 1,000 times we choose to step into our best self, or choose to step into that place of, I'm thinking from clarity. I'm thinking with a whole perspective. So when we stop those ruminating thoughts, that's what we're doing. We're stepping out of that default setting and into that place of conscious awareness. So any practice, any grounding practice that brings us to the present moment will help reduce these ruminating thoughts. They'll bring awareness to our unconscious thought patterns and our unconscious filters in our thinking process. The present moment really is that refuge, that place of where self-understanding arises, and that place where we get to unravel the knots of our psyche. So mindfulness is a tremendous tool for that. And try to practice mindfulness every day for whatever amount of time works for you. The research shows that even just a couple minutes a day change how our brain fires and wires. And another tool that I mentioned yesterday is use your senses. Like smell the smells, hear the sounds, hear the birds. Pay attention to the details that you normally just pass by. Those are just moments of present moment awareness. Those are just pieces, those are just tapping into that presence in a really quick way that you can do it multiple times a day without really stopping what you're doing. But just like, oh, look at that. Like really taste that coffee, really taste your tea. Like what does it feel like? Feel the heat going down of the coffee or tea going down your throat. Just tap into those details, and that's present moment awareness. You can do it for 30 seconds, you can do it for a couple minutes. And then the more formal practice is, of course, our meditation practice or our mindfulness practice. So with that, I invite you to close your eyes, find a posture that is comfortable, something upright but not rigid, just kind of ease into that. And take a couple breaths just to bring your awareness right here. And notice your breath. Let that be your anchor. It's just, there's nothing magical about the breath. It's just that anchor to the present moment. That steadfast in and out. It's our refuge to that here and now. When we practice mindfulness, we're not looking for an absence of thought. We're looking for an awareness of thought. It's the awareness of our thought that brings us back to our breath, and that is an act of mindfulness. So every time a thought arises, we just come back to the breath. There's nothing to do. There's nowhere to go. This time is our gift to ourselves. This moment to expand our present moment awareness. Whatever arises, thoughts, feelings, emotions, we can look at that and we can hold it, but we don't have to buy into the story. We don't have to become the story. We can observe it and just let it go. We can put that thought on a leaf and let it float down the river of our mind, out of sight. Remember, mindfulness takes effort, but it's a gentle effort. Every time we come back to the breath, there's no judgment. There's no wishing that our thoughts weren't there. It's a curious awareness. Oh, look at that. It's there again. Look at that. Fear, 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 or whatever arises. It's just there. And then we can let it go. We can notice it and name it and let it go. your body feel the calm. Let your body feel the stillness. The in and out of our breath becomes that home base. When those thoughts arise, we're just stepping into the future or the past. But it's that awareness of the thought that brings us back to the present moment. And we just come back to our breath. That's really a beautiful thing, that awareness, to come back to the present moment. Back to the stillness. If a sound arises or something comes in, a pain or maybe something in your back, you can let that become the focal point of your awareness for a moment. Maybe there's a sound and you focus on that, and then as soon as it starts to diminish or get boring, then just come back to your breath. We don't have to have perfect silence for meditation. We can take in whatever arises and learn from that. Let that be our awareness for a moment, and then come back to our breath. It's the focused attention that brings us to the present moment. if it's difficult to focus on the breath, you can also put your hands on your belly and feel the rise and fall of your tummy as you breathe. And that can be another anchor point. Right here, right now. I'll ring the bell in just about another minute. So let's just focus on the breath for this last minute, in and out. And when you're ready, please open your eyes. Thanks for being here, everybody. I appreciate your support, and thank you for collectively we're creating more peace and well-being. So thank you. Have a good day, and I'll see you tomorrow.